idea that us parents have when our children get into teenagehood, that we are going to have that first drink with them. This conversation is about asking yourself, is that an inherited culture or is it a rite of passage? It's a very interesting conversation, parents and teenagers. It's about the controversy about alcohol consumption in the youth and teenagers. It's going to be raw, it's going to be real, it's going to be authentic, it's going to be controversial, filled with aha moments. And how real can it get? Because we have not one, not two, wait a minute, three young adults today in the studio to discuss, challenge, talk, debate, bring in their own experiences. What this conversation is not about is to convince anyone about anything. Honestly, we are just hovering around three big objectives. Just to understand the stories behind why teenagers drink, what's the partying culture like? Probably understanding how each of us play a role in their teenage years, understanding the impact alcohol has on their brain, and everything is science backed. References will be provided when you're watching this episode. And lastly, to create an educated awareness about alcohol consumption, especially in parents and teenagers of today. So, without further ado, I want my young adults to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Mayara Sharma. I'm 18 and I'm currently studying a bachelor's in mechatronics and robotics engineering. I'm a women's soccer and college athlete at Indiana Tech, and this is my second year.
Hi, my name is Joy. I'm 21. I'm a bachelor student at USIU studying applied biochemistry, and I enjoy having open conversations, and that's what I have going for me right now.
Hi guys, my name is Tavan. I am a 28-year-old entrepreneur, very passionate and dedicated towards healthcare advocacy. I enjoy theatre and dramatics, writing blogs, hiking, and I also happen to be a doctor.
Welcome, Mayara, Joy, and Dr. Stavan Munshi. How do I address you? Do I call you Dr. Stavan? Do I call you Stavan?
Just
Okay, once
let's keep
again,
it simple.
once again, welcome. I am so humbled and privileged when you said yes to that message immediately. You agreed to everything that I said just to show up. This matters a lot to me.
It's an honor.
Yeah. I also would like to tell you that you guys were my first choice. And this was because each of you represent a different segment of young adult. She, as an 18-year-old, having experiences in Kenya, but also left the country when she was 15 for further studies in the US. And so her experience as a freshman year, as a high schooler in the US and the partying culture there, as a professional athlete. And then we have Joy, who is a beautiful 21-year-old, incredible in whatever that she does, but most importantly, deeply rooted in the Kenyan culture. And she's seen both sides of being a teenager and as an early 20 something enjoying the partying culture. So your conversation around this is as important. You guys represent everyone. And then, of course, there is Dr. Stavan, which you guys forget about the doctor part. But most importantly, Stavan, you are someone who represents the late 20s, where you have gone through the journey of being a medicine student, of the stresses, of the partying culture, of being a young adult as a teenager, and then moving towards your late 20s, where we say that our brain is completely developed. So, ideally, when I think of the three of you, nobody could have been a perfect fit for this conversation. Once again, everyone, welcome to the safe space with Binny. The conversation is going to be about alcohol consumption, controversies around teenagers, and their level of partying culture. As we begin, I would like to ask you, what was the first thought when you read my message of asking you to be on this podcast for this topic?
Well, as you know, or if you don't know, she's my mom. So I guess for me, it wasn't a text message, but we were more in the kitchen. And she was like, hey, I have this idea. um, Honestly, I felt a bit inexperienced because I would say, as teenagers, getting into understanding what alcohol is and having experiences was around the age of 15 or even earlier. And by that time, I already kind of left the country. So my first thought was, I'm not apt for this. I don't have enough experience, and I don't think I'll have much to share. But I think when I thought about it, there are people like me who maybe don't drink as much or has not had enough experience, but can still enjoy partying and hanging out with people and still feeling like they belong. And I think it was important for me to share that, share my experience, and make people feel a bit more relatable.
I convinced you, in short.
Basically.
That's a really good answer. Personally, I had been drunk the day before, so I genuinely was expecting like a therapy session on like why I should stop drinking alcohol. So there was just very deep concern there, and I didn't really know whether I should say yes. But then you sent like the whole explanation, and I was like, this might actually be like a really good discussion worth having, especially considering the drinking culture that I've witnessed in Kenya. So I think it's important to have this conversation.
That's so real. How real can you get?
I think I was really excited. It got me into like flashback of like when I've been super drunk and sloshed to when like I've said that no, I need to stop here. So it made me reflect onto. I sound old now. Onto the past 28 years of. No, I've not been drinking for 20, but like since I started drinking, so it kind of made me reflect on that zone, I guess.
I can imagine. And tell me, what comes to your mind when you hear "let's party"?
Alcohol. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
It's just straight up alcohol.
Yeah, I guess it will in my it will involve alcohol, but now it would be calmer.
Yeah,
Like it wouldn't
What comes to your mind? So first thought that comes to your mind when I say "let's party," what comes to your mind?
like chilling, like
Chilling,
yeah,
fun.
like
Okay.
chilling, yeah.
My thought is how late. And also who's gonna be there, because I feel like my sister and I are very like a lot of people, like we spend a time with so many different types of people. So some of my friends, it's like, oh, let's party. It's like, okay, we're gonna stay up, we're gonna talk, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna watch movies. And then there's other friends of mine who are like, okay, let's party, and the party starts at like 10, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can stay up that late. So I guess like it depends as well.
Yeah, but I like how this is going. For some people, it is alcohol, and if I probably were to do a survey, a lot of them would think that you cannot probably imagine a party or a celebration without alcoholic
Alcohol,
drinks.
yeah.
Totally,
So
100%.
Right? And I really don't know whether is this the culture that started today or is this a culture that probably was handed down to you. I don't know, but we will figure it out. Tell me, when did your relationship with alcohol begin, Stavan?
I think it was O-level coast. So after year 11, we kind of have this tradition where we go to Mombasa to
Yeah,
celebrate getting done with
yeah.
exams. So I think that was the first time I actually experienced alcohol, and like the effect it has, everything slows down. You become a different human being. People are like, yeah, shots and all of that. So I think my first would be O-level coast.
Was there a time where you kind of, was there a moment where someone explained to you about this, or was it just a culture and
No, no, no. There was no explanation that was given. This is,
This is
It
it.
just found you.
I'm not. Yes, I know Benny, but I've not been involved that way with where you're told like alcohol does X, Y, Z.
so there is no conversation, right?
There
Yeah,
was no
true,
conversation
true.
about it.
So what happened
Neither
when
at
you,
home. Sorry.
correct, sorry, correct, continue.
No, there was no conversation about how much to drink, whether to drink or not. If you were to drink, in what's surrounding you should drink in. So no,
Correct, correct.
we've never really had that
So what
conversation.
went through your mind? Do you remember that young Stavan? You said you were 16, 17 maybe?
Yeah,
Or
probably,
18, maybe 18.
yeah, 16. I think I
16,
was
yeah.
16. Yeah.
16. So what went through your mind? Do you remember that like scene as in
I remember I was so it was in the hotel itself where like everyone was drinking, so I had to drink, like, and I couldn't like let it out there that I'm drinking for the first time. It probably would have been 10 other people experiencing the same thing, but no one just went out there and said it.
why
But
not?
I don't know. I've never thought about it this way. I think it's just um I don't know if it's a taboo or not, but like I it was just like it felt cool.
Thank you. So there was a part of us wanting to look cool at that age,
Yeah, trying to fit in.
trying to fit in. Yeah, sense of
I guess so.
belongingness.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Maya, what about you?
Um,
Your first relationship with alcohol?
I would say, I mean, you guys were also in young years when Sian and I were young. So definitely there were a lot of parties, New Year's Eve, things like that. And of course, dad has a bar. So, I think for me, it was already seeing like what that bar was, seeing when uncles and aunts came over and they already started to drink. I think you and dad were very open about the conversation. Like anytime I would ask him, he'd be like, okay, this is what like it is. This is what happens. You can smell it. Um, but I never had like my own individual experience, I would say, because again, even the concept of like going to coast after your years, for me, it was more about, wow, I'm leaving home. So I never got that individual experience where I'm young, I'm vulnerable to a lot of influence, and I'm out for the first time with only friends and no supervision. But I do believe that dad explained to me a lot about what alcohol is. He made me taste a couple. And yeah, I would say, frankly, that was my first experience with
Tell me,
alcohol.
was there any part of you subconsciously or consciously carried that weight of being my daughter for the work that I do with teens?
I feel like that I mean, I definitely have that, but that came pretty later.
Mhm.
Because I mean, at that young age, I didn't even know what was right and wrong. Like, I'm seeing the people who are in my environment, my grown ups, drinking. I didn't really think it was a bad or good thing. I didn't even know what it did. And so, with the people I felt the most safe with, they are doing that. So I was like, ah, it can't be that bad. But as you got deeper in your work and you and dad started to really change as individuals, at least in the past 10 years, that's where I really felt to feel like, oh, now I'm conflicted because now they're saying something completely different than what they used to do. And so I was just like, then what's right? That what's wrong? And then I started to slowly feel like when it started to become those teenage years where there's a lot of independence, that's when I started to feel a bit of the pressure because I started to feel like, oh, wow, they've reformed. They have data, they have everything supporting that this is not good anymore, but I never even got to experience it. I don't know it for myself. And so, yeah, subconsciously there's that. And of course, I mean, since the age of 4, I've been playing this sport. I've been playing soccer, right? And by the age of 13, I decided like, this is it for me. This is what I want to do. I want to play professionally. By that time, you already know how it affects your body. So part of you also feels a bit of guilt that like, if I want to play well and I know this is not good for my body, why would I have it? Does not take away the fact that you still feel a bit left out in some spaces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Joy, what was your relationship with alcohol? At what age did it begin?
I think, oh, I hope my mother doesn't see this. It was when I was about 14, 15, and I went for a concert with my friends. I was not anticipating to find alcohol. I don't think I really even thought about finding alcohol there. And then one of my friends popped up with candy shots, and then from the candy shots, someone showed up with a bottle. And then I just got so drunk so quickly. And the night basically ended for me there. The last thing I remember is having to call my mom and tell her that I'm too drunk and I need to be picked up. And that was
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. This is real honest stuff. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, do we know what alcohol really is? Like when you, of course, it's something. Well, you've asked me what alcohol really is. Uh, what I understand is it's something that is served in parties on happy occasions. People drink, and then slowly things start shifting. The vibe starts shifting in that party. Correct. But what is it in that drink? Do we know what is it? Like what is it about alcohol that you not necessarily need to know, but just being curious?
Um, I think like if you talk about it in terms of the chemical composition,
Mhm.
I would say it's ethanol. Like
Yeah,
what it
that's the
basically
doctor
is.
speaking now.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's that. So like the final breakdown product is when you consume alcohol,
Mhm,
which comes now in various types, various forms,
mhm,
whether it's beer, whiskey, rum, tequila,
mhm. Shots.
shots,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
whatever. It's basically broken down to that. So now when that byproduct enters your system, it's now further broken down by various enzymes to now have the effect that it does into your body.
Mhm.
And now that can affect, say, your central nervous system, which now gives you that high that we talk about, or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
trip that
yeah,
we talk about.
yeah.
um Primarily also really has an impact on your liver,
Mhm.
which is basically, speaking about it in terms of chemical composition, is it causes something called as alcohol-induced fatty liver disease, and then which then, if you continue consuming it, causes liver cirrhosis and liver necrosis and all of
That's
that.
in a lot of young adults. I mean, I've seen that people, young adults. I'm not even talking about people who are 50s and 60s. I'm talking about young adults going through fatty liver
Disease,
diseases.
yes.
You said it. You said it point on, doctor. Probably that's why he's here. I would say also say that each drink, whatever it is, you said it all, but I would add wine, I would add beer, I would add malt, I would add shots, whichever shots that you have. I would add cocktails. Eventually, everything comes down to one drink equals to 16 grams of alcohol in it, pure alcohol, because that ethanol that you're talking about is basically a chemical that, when mixed with the process of making alcohol, is what hits us. And like you said, it, in simple words for all my viewers listening to this, it's like literally puts a blanket on your thinking brain. So you go a little bit happier because you don't have those thoughts of what if. You become more emotional. You are ready to be yourself because the thinking mind, the self doubt mind, the mind which tells you, don't do this, you'll be judged, is literally put to sleep. Yeah. So it's a very interesting conversation when you say that. Did you guys know about this, Joy and Mayu, about what actually alcohol carries?
I mean, I of course knew it because of you.
Mhm.
In that sense, I remember you even telling me that, like, here's an article, read it, make up your own mind. And of course, the conversations you had with Sion when she was a bit older. Um, I do know the effect it has on the body, but I didn't really know, the breakdown of it, I would say.
Yeah, interesting. So take a moment, each of you, okay, take a moment and think about a time in a party you're enjoying, okay? And you have a few drinks down, whatever that drink is for you. In one word, how does that make you feel? In one word, how's that feeling?
I'd say light. Yeah.
I'd say powerful.
I love this, yeah. Like you can do anything.
Like
in your ear.
huh? Now wait, now let's talk.
Yeah. Can I ask you something, Stavan? As a child, were you introverted or extroverted?
Introverted,
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
introverted.
Do you think there is a correlation between a child who was introverted, who probably introverted brains are someone who are confident within, but they are unable to make friends, talk. Each time they are out there with people, their battery starts draining, so they prefer more silent places. Um, but as an introverted young teenager going into adulthood, it's a different story altogether. And so I want to ask you, is there a correlation between being introverted and having something to make you feel, I'm powerful, I can do this?
I to be very honest, I've never thought about it. With like
Yeah.
now that you've said it, it probably makes me reflect and think. I don't know if it's a correlation. You could say correlation, because then what happens is, once you have those four drinks, then you talk to any Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Correct.
Then you have no repercussions. Then you
Correct.
have,
Correct.
you have nothing that's holding you back. So I think yes,
Yeah.
to a very very large extent, that yeah, it makes you fun, it makes you crack jokes, it makes you feel wanted, because now, oh, your drink is over, let me pour you in. So someone asks you now, no one else, if you're not drinking, no one's gonna talk to you. So yeah, I guess yes.
Yeah,
Long story
because
short, yeah.
I'll take it back to your first answer as to what was the first time that you drank, and one of the words that came out was you kind of feel that a sense of belongingness.
Yes.
Now I want everyone listening to this, including you guys, to remember that we are social beings. Okay, we love introverted, extroverted, social anxiety, no anxiety, doesn't matter, but we love as a species to be around people. We need to have the sense of belongingness and attachment, or feeling of feeling seen, that you're important and you're valued.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody like you, and I know there are a lot of teenagers who go through this of not being able to stand up and speak to everyone, especially between the age of 9 and 19. It's the most difficult period. It's also the period of identity crisis, you know. And so when you share this experience, you don't know but how many teenagers would be listening to this and saying, now that makes sense. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. um, Tell me, when we are talking about these conversations, help me understand that. And sorry, I'll come back to your one word, right? Oh, sorry, Joy, I lost the point, but thank you. Tell me the one word that comes to you when you
I did give the answer. I said light.
lied, okay?
Yeah, it was
Sorry,
my
guys.
who didn't give it.
Yeah. So, and Mayu, what did you say?
I didn't say anything.
Okay, go ahead.
Secret, not so secret. I haven't gotten the experience of being drunk or properly tipsy. But the one drink that I had and tried to, I would still say euphoric. Yeah, I would still say like you feel happy, you feel like you're very in the moment and present and nothing else matters, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. Do you think when you look around your friends and all, somewhere it's the same sense of vibe that shifts?
In what sense?
When you are partying and a group of friends or youngsters are enjoying their shots, drinks, whatever that is, do you slowly see that right from the start of the party to few drinks down, the vibe, the personality change slowly starts showing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody could be more
Totally.
emotional. I don't know. You guys
Totally.
have to share with me. What changes? What changes in the vibe as a culture if you're in a party?
Everything basically.
Yeah.
Enlighten me.
And it really just depends on like the mood you're in. Like when I went drinking last week, I was fine. The week before, I cried the whole night. The whole night, I cried about how much I love my friends. It really just depends on like the mood that like you find the person. And usually, if you're already sad about something, you're going to cry. If you're already happy about something, it's probably just going to elevate that mood. So yeah, you just watch people's whatever mood they're in just get more pronounced, basically.
Joy, this reminds me of the time that you, Sion, in the DP2 went for the coast trip together, right?
That was in grade 11.
Yeah, in grade 11, right? And I remember that Sion throughout the night calling me, then calling Sandeep, then calling Mayu and sending like voice messages to everyone.
that.
We sat
Oh,
on the
she
bed
loves
with
us.
her.
Really?
Yeah, how
Yeah,
could
she
she
cried
loves
the
us and she's
whole
crying?
night.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting to see, right? So you see like plethora of, what about you, Mayu? Plethora of emotions here, yeah.
I would say, yeah, people become more risky, they become less fearful, more confident. And I think it bonds you. I would say it bonds you. Um, especially if it's like one of your first times drinking, or even when you don't know the group well enough. Like, again, it was my first year in college. So, again, I didn't really know my team that well, but we were already a team before I even landed there. And so getting to know like 20 to 30 other girls, you know, it is a bit overwhelming, but it's like you have to do it because you're going to be spending at least 80% of your time with them, training and everything. So when we were off season, you know, and it was someone's birthday, having those moments where people would drink and just have fun for that night and not have any responsibility the next day, it bonded us because we connected with each other more. We shared things that we wouldn't share if we were sober. And that's really what alcohol does. I feel like it makes you more vulnerable. And so I think, yeah, you share things, and the moment you share things or the moment you're vulnerable, you let someone have a piece of yourself, and that connects you to, you know. And so the next night you laugh, you joke about it. A year, 2 years later, you're like, you remember that time X, Y, and Z happened. I think it's really where bonds are made and experiences are formed.
Yeah.
You know, I completely agree with what Mayu has to say is the bonding factor. Because I remember, like, you know, when they say that doctors like drink the most, I 100% agree. I
I didn't know
I
that.
1000% agree. Because throughout like my medical school, any major exam that we finish, any you know, because it's like it builds up to that one
One
point.
point.
You know, like it's stress. Then the moment the exam is done,
It's like,
Really?
that
we're done.
that moment, that afternoon, that evening, hell has to break loose. Like, and that day it's not 1, 2, 3 bottles like that. It's now,
Yeah, it's
you
like
know,
days.
yeah, like it's like 15, 20 of us like now going like now there's nothing that is stopping us. That there's nothing holding us behind. So I think that feeling of like, you know, it we're together in this.
Yeah,
Whether it was
Solidarity.
yeah, solidarity.
totally.
You guys are using like big words, really big words. It's making me also like have a
Think.
aha moment.
Yeah.
You know, Mayu used the word vulnerable. Yeah. Okay. It's a complex word because it's a word that is the least, it's the most felt, least expressed, and least understood. Okay. So Mayu, what does vulnerable mean? What does being vulnerable mean?
Put me on the spot there. No, I think being vulnerable is like being your pure, authentic self if there was no consequence to it.
Ah, good one. Any idea? Anything else you want to share on vulnerability?
I feel like I'd slightly disagree, honestly,
Go ahead.
about like the vulnerability. Maybe it's just my personal opinion,
Okay.
but I really don't like it. I don't believe that people are really vulnerable whenever they get drunk. Like it feels almost fake because it's like I feel like part of vulnerability is like fully consenting to doing it, like willingly putting yourself in a position to like share a part of yourself. So when it's not being done willingly, it doesn't really feel authentic. It feels almost forced because it left you without really. Because when you're drunk, you really have like no control over what it is that okay, you do to some capacity, but like
But
it
you
gets to a
don't.
certain
You
point where
don't.
you don't have control over what
I
you're going to
don't.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have control over what you're going to say. So it's not like you're willingly telling me this. Because you can be like at the club and a girl will tell you her deepest secret she's never shared with anyone, her family problems. And it's like, if you met me sober, you wouldn't do this because you
Mhm.
don't know me. So it doesn't feel like honest vulnerability to me.
Correct.
Mm.
Correct. What do you think? That's mind blowing
Yeah,
for
I
me.
Yeah,
think
that's a great point.
I think it's just like I completely agree with Joy. It's basically you putting your guard down. Like what it does is that protective layer that you have when you're sober is gone.
Mm.
So you can either be very vulnerable, yeah, or
Emotionally expressive.
yeah, emotionally it could be peaks,
Yeah.
Mm.
that um in probably like show your friends how much you love them, or be like, oh, my ex did whatever, it's something of that sort. Yeah, so it's those extremes.
Yeah. So yeah, so I think it's beautifully explained. Let me explain. Vulnerability is basically emotional exposure in front of people, okay, which usually scares us because we don't know how they are going to judge us or shame us. And most of us, in fact, 99% of the people in the world are not taught. It's a skill to understand your emotions, meet your emotions, manage. You hear that, manage your emotions, but they don't know you can't manage your emotions without meeting them. We're not allowed to meet our emotions. Especially men are asked to like, suck it up, be out there, go fight, right? And so when you are under the influence of alcohol, it masks your prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking part of your brain, which, by the way, completely develops by the age of 25. So your brain completely matures by that age. That means the part of the brain which is the CEO of your brain, which tells you not to drink and drive. All of these executive functions come after 25. And that's why, I don't know, Stavan, if you'd agree, but one of the things we see is you are very different. You would have been a very different Stavan at 15. At 18, probably like impulsive, taking risks. But now at 28, the same Stavan may probably pause a bit, right? So the reason I'm bringing this is your brain is completely ready with the emotional part of your brain, correct? So imagine you'll see a teenager having exaggerated emotions anyways. Yeah, the most fight you would have with your parents is during the age of 9 and 19. The most pushbacks, the more exploring you would do is between the age of 9 and 19. So imagine you already have exaggerated emotion because your emotional brain is completely fully developed. Your prefrontal cortex is work in progress. And then you have something that enters the brain and whatever little is there puts it to sleep. And then you already have exaggerated emotions time to.
Yeah.
So you're right. I loved it when you said that it's not vulnerable out of choice. It's vulnerable out of process, and this is again no awareness given. Like I don't know how many 15-year-olds know this or how many parents who are raising 16-year-olds know about this science, right? So these are fantastic conversations just to make us wonder, okay, wow, I tell me, was this culture about alcohol passed down? Was this belief passed down? That there is a belief, like if I were to use the word for feelings right now, a belief that I felt light, I felt powerful, I saw the people be euphoric, right? Do you think the relationship with alcohol and how it makes us feel, or the people around us feel, or the relationship with a party needs to have booze, was this culture inherited? Was this belief inherited, which has come down from my generation? Or was it something that you learned it through your journey?
Wow.
The lip smack.
Yeah. But I would say I think it's a mix of both, but specifically for our generation, it's a mix of both. So like generation beyond generation till like however much we've known, everything that we see today, the way we go about life, it is all based on the environment we grew up in. Whether we admit it or not, our decisions, even the subconscious ones, are based on how we were raised. Um, and I don't think that's something you can shake, because the younger you are, the more moldable you are to all the influence around you. And the older you are, the more you feel like you have experience so you can combat it.
Very
But
interesting.
fundamentally, yes, you know, the concept of alcohol is from the generation we were brought up in, you know. But because I feel like this generation is just so different with social media exposure, being able to text and call from so far away, and frankly, like my experience of just at 15, I went 11,000 kilometers away from my parents, where frankly they'll have no idea until probably the next morning, right? So that also gives me my own experience. And so in some ways I also believe it's that environment of like, you talk to your friends, you see what have they been through, right? They're also figuring it out. Then you talk to people who are older, because again in college you're like, there's an age gap of like 18 and some of my friends are 23, right? So I would say it's a mixed bag of like, yes, you have your fundamental beliefs and identity built upon the fact that the generation before you raised you. But I feel like what's changing in today's world is we're so connected that influence can also come from Stavan's age. It can also come from social media. It
Older
can come
cousin, yeah.
older cousin. It can come from things that are not as close as it was in your generation, where it was just your parents or just your uncle and aunt. And so I think that it's a mixed bag of both of those things. But yes, fundamentally, I think it's the adults in our life who has changed how we look at alcohol today.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much.
Personally, I feel like I'd argue that it's entirely passed down because all the parties I saw when I was younger that my parents would have and stuff like that always had alcohol. And I think then it moved on to like you said, the older cousins, then the older cousins show it to the younger cousins, and then all of you just end up going to parties where there's always alcohol. And then the hangouts that would be without alcohol were never like parties per se. They would just be like teas. So you really learn the difference between just like going for tea with your friends and having a party. And the difference is alcohol. And so I think even if social media wasn't really there to show us that, like, oh, there's like, you're watching a movie, there's high schoolers and there's red cups with alcohol and stuff like that, I don't really think it would have changed much even if there wasn't alcohol, because we saw it growing up. Like during our formative years, you saw alcohol at parties.
Correct. You said both sides. Tell me, if you've attended party with teas and you've attended party with booze, forget about your own experiences, but the adults around you. Would you, as a child or as a young adult, think that this is fun and oh, this is boring, everyone is quiet and it's how I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I am curious.
It was exactly that. Like the tea parties are just like they're sitting, they're talking, there's the occasional laugh, and then there's like the proper parties where now that's when really all the good food comes out as well. Like it's not just cupcakes, the meat is there, the ugali is there, everything has been cooked to a tea, everything is just fantastic. So it's like you learn there's a difference between which one is fun and which one is not.
Correct. You
Yeah.
just in this moment broke my heart into a million pieces because I am such a big supporter of tea parties and making it fun. But I'm going to invite you to my tea party.
And I'll come.
What?
And learn the difference.
Without the alcohol.
Without the alcohol, it's okay.
What do you think,
Um,
Stav?
I think I'd like to agree with Mayu, because I think it's a mix of both. Uh, they have been parties, that culture that I grew up with, that had alcohol, like the uncles and aunties that I probably saw growing up. There were parties that involved a lot of alcohol, and on the other hand is I have also seen parties that have no alcohol. Um, okay, no, I wouldn't say parties, but like get-togethers. Yeah, now I'm just reflecting as to what I've said now. Yeah, yeah, they're not parties then if it doesn't have alcohol.
Mm.
So yeah, now that I look at it, it's like it's not a party, but like that get together minus the alcohol, that has also been there. So I have been given a bit, like shown both sides of the card, and then growing up I chose that, okay, this is what I want to do at times, this is what I want to do the other times. So I think it's a mix of both.
It's a mix of both. Yeah, I think I would personally reflect when you guys were talking, I was thinking about my childhood. And I realized that when I was growing up, you call it Gujarati family. I also feel it is culturally kind of introduced. Gujarati family, there is a taboo, there is a shame attached. Although Gujarat, the part of India that I come from, it's a dry state where there is no alcohol allowed legally. And yet it has the place where the maximum amount of alcohol consumption happens. Right? Do we
Yes.
agree?
Majesty.
So what I'm saying is it's more about do it as long as nobody comes to know about it, right?
Mm.
And so I remember when I was young and my mom was like, in Gujarati, I'm going to say it, is like, beta baddu karje daru na piti. Do everything as long as you don't touch alcohol. And obviously, I was one of those while growing up that I wanted to always be my mama's perfect girl, right? We all go through that. Um, and so to a large extent, I kind of followed through because there was this deep respect for one thing that my mom asked, right? But I also know that in that generation, we didn't have open bars or cultures where alcohol was freely done. Even in Punjabi families, um, on Diwali night was the only night once in the year where after the celebration is over, certain Punjabi families will open a bottle of something, which was alcoholic. So it was very minimalized as such. This wasn't even a conversation when we were growing up. But at some point of time, today, what I see in affluent families, okay, open bar is a culture. I mean, my house has a bar and it's always been an open bar. We have never locked that, correct? And so most of the families, at least in this part of the world, if I see, who are affluent in a way, parents have that culture of drinking whenever there is a get together or a party.
Totally.
So something shifted between my parents' generation and our generation. And I think the correlation could be the wealth, the power that came with it, the affluence that came with it. Because maybe when my parents were growing up and if young, I mean, I don't know because I've not had that experience. I'm sure some parents listening would probably agree or disagree. But I think for young boys then, okay, men, especially who were 16 and 18, they probably had to steal, beg, borrow to have that 1 quarter or something. So when they become adults who can afford everything, there is this little child in them who makes them want to feel that, okay, I can afford everything now, the most expensive whiskey. I mean, this is just the psychologist in me speaking. I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm just doing a hypothesis here, correct? And so I feel that somewhere down the line, my generation took it to another level of normalizing it. Because I know my mom's or most of my generation parents' dream wasn't that I'll have the first drink of alcohol with my child at 16.
Yeah.
But I do meet a lot of parents. In fact, my own home had that conversation. When I wasn't even doing this, I didn't even know what this means to an extent. Until I started educating myself, and thank God before my children turned 16, we already were awake. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do something different. But having said that, I do believe that my generation has played a role in normalizing that culture for your generation, in making it look like uh, a mindless inherited culture to follow, a kind of rite of passage. Like it's very, and again, no judgment, but a very simple fact that I see is that it's actually spoken as if they don't do it now, when will they do? This is their age to go and experiment with alcohol. Right? So let me ask you, as a teenager, which you all were once, Mayu still is, why do teens really drink? What do you think is the compelling reason? Because we've already discussed so many of your personal experiences, but if you were to sum it up in a sentence, why do teens drink? What is the sense of? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I would want you to think, why do teens drink? Why did you drink? Why do teens today say yes and go ahead?
I would say to not think.
That's a good point.
To not think, yeah.
I would say to fit in.
To fit in, yes. A sense of belongingness, to not think, yeah.
Same exact to someone, to feel like they belong somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And I love what she said, because I did know that children do that at that age because there is an innate need to feel like I belong, a sense of identity. And so you said it at the start, Stavan, that when I asked you why didn't you share that this is your first time? Because there's a part of you which wanted to look cool and feel like I belong. I'm not a baby who doesn't drink, right? And so that sense of belongingness is the number one reason. But I love that, to not think, because guess what? The data today says that teenagers are more stressed than adults. And the highest amount of stress in teenagers, especially the highest amount of anxiety globally in teenagers, is born out of academic stress. And so I link it back to Stavan saying, when the exams are over, next day, boom, like, let's go.
Same day.
Same day, sorry. Oh, okay, same day.
Same afternoon.
Correct, same day, same day. So I mean, this is like my aha moment, that yes, they drink to not think,
Yeah.
not worry, the pressures, the overwhelm. And I think teenagers cannot also uh, control most part of their lives. A lot of things are decided for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, a lot of food for thought here. Um, Tell me, do you think there is a taboo now in your generation around alcohol? Do you see people saying, "Arey, no, no, no"? Like, do you see that culture now?
I don't think so.
Correct.
I don't think there's a taboo as such. No. In the typical Indian um household, or that majority of us living in Kenya, the Asian community grew up with, it probably was before back in the day, but right now,
Just like my generation when
yeah,
they went through. I think that's a
don't
great
think.
point. That's a great point. Do you think it's taboo?
No, not even a little bit, and it's not going to get taboo anytime soon. Because even with conversations with my friends, we're planning how when we become adults with our own money, how we're going to buy actual, like, proper expensive alcohol. It's not going away
So this
anytime
is this
soon.
is this is exactly the hypothesis I said, that when my generation was younger, they just wanted to grow up and really invest in good things. Yeah.
Agreed. I wouldn't say as extreme as taboo, but I do believe that there's that conscious in everyone's head of like, we know it's bad, or like you can feel it. I think it's different because I'm an athlete. Like you need to remember that like not everyone sticks to the rules of like, we can only drink in off season. If your birthday falls before off season, if Halloween, which it always does, falls before off season, and Halloween is one of the biggest things in college culture in the US, because you know they market huge holidays. Halloween weekend is like huge drinking fiend, and so in some sense, you can see people still keeping an eye out of like 72 hours before the game, you can't drink. And we already have that rule whether you're over the age of 21, because that's the drinking age in the US, or you're under, it does not matter. If we have a game 72 hours before, no drinking, no vaping, no smoking, no nothing. And so, of course, people do it. But I would say that it does depend, because in the back of their heads, you know, to some extent, we're still kids.
There's fear, yeah.
So there's still fear. There's still a bit like, yo,
kids, but who are
my
also,
opinion,
who are
yeah,
also playing professionally.
exactly. Like
Athletes.
you would
I think it's
say,
athletes.
you would say some there would be people in your circle or in your clique of the team saying, yo, my opinion, don't do that.
Correct, correct. So I understand that, and I will circle back to that as an athlete. But I would want to again, just final thing on that conversation between passed down from my generation to your generation, is the key difference is in my generation there was taboo and shame attached to it. Because I
Yeah.
know even if people drank, there was a little bit of shame. There's like this inner talk that, oh, I'm a bad boy or I'm a bad girl. Not that it stopped us. Yeah. But all I'm saying is in your generation, it is like minuscule. It's all about, it's do you think it's a relation to health and sorry, not health, but wealth and happiness? Do you think there is a little bit of that factor to it, the wealth and happiness and a loud culture?
I'd agree actually. Because, like, for us, basically, like, the more you drink, it, like, okay, there's like a threshold, but like the more you drink, like, it shows the more money you have, because you're not going to be drinking every day. I can't be drinking every day because I cannot
Correct.
afford to.
Correct.
But then it hits a certain threshold where it's like, okay, now you're just an alcoholic, you're drinking cheap alcohol, like it's an everyday thing. But like it does show like I do have the money to be drinking all the time. So it does show off wealth, I think.
Um, okay, I think it's a mix of both. In addition to like the aspect of wealth and that, I think it's also there is a lot of knowledge available now. So I think people are more aware, people are more educated, people are more whether it's the current teenagers,
Yeah.
whether it's through social media, whether it's whatever, it's you making more informed choices rather than, you know, doing it and then seeing the repercussions of it. So I think right now, like Mayu knows if I do X, I'm going to get Y. Whereas I didn't think about the Y when I was her age.
So do you, so that's a key point. Do you think that between the age of 14, I sometimes feel that 12 years old are experimenting. My
Yeah.
my knowledge, being a psychologist working with teenagers, 12-year-olds are also experimenting with alcohol. So are you saying the young age of 12, 13 up till the leading age of 18, 20 or whatever, until it's like now allowed. Okay. There is shame and taboo and fear.
Yes, it's there to a certain. I don't think it's shame. I think it's more of taboo and fear. But it's also the fact that I know that I shouldn't. The aspect of trying, yes, could be there. That I can have this,
Mm,
but now I don't want to have it, or
Yeah.
I'll have it when I want to.
yeah. Yeah.
You know how she put it is
Yeah.
like say, but and she put it beautifully, saying that um there are 3 days that I don't want to drink or I won't have to drink. But now when in that 3 days, apart from those 3 days, I can drink.
Correct.
But
And
those,
yet, hers is a
yeah,
very isolated conversation for a segment of the world which are wanting to be professional athletes. Uh, the reason I'm asking this is because this also again ties down to the science that your thinking mind is not developed.
Mm.
So the fear and all can be subconscious, but that idea of let's do this, the thrill is at the epitome of it. The idea of experiencing that thrill is something that pushes you
Yeah.
as children.
Yeah.
Correct. So we are constantly talking about why teens drink, your personal experiences. Tell me, are there any positives about drinking alcohol? And I don't want you to tell it as a doctor or an academician.
You're like, no.
But come on, tell me honestly, because I also come from a body, as much as I believe in the science and the data that points me for doing the impact about alcohol in teenagers, I also know that at a subtle level, there has to be some positives.
Yeah.
What would be that?
I would say they're positives
Uh-huh.
because as a person who's I mean I've not had enough experience having it myself,
Mhm.
but as a person who has seen like most of everyone I hang out with have it, gotten mellow, tipsy, or drunk itself,
Mhm.
I have seen the positive of the fact of, like I said, maybe because Joy brought up a good point, maybe vulnerable is not the right word, but definitely more open and extroverted.
Yeah, so to be able to make friends.
And not only able to make friends, I feel like as humans we depend on connection. It's a fundamental need, right? You need to feel connected to someone, and that can be in many ways of love, friendship, whatever, but the deep idea is I want to feel connected to you, right? And I feel like honestly, taking an experience of like dad, you and dad are like very opposite. He is very introverted. He is so introverted, and I think a lot of people, like when they see him, they're like, oh, he's so intimidating because he has like this face on. With us as a family, I think he's very open, he's very sweet. But yes, the one or two times when we're setting up the Christmas tree and he just has one drink or two, the conversations that open up, I feel like I can really connect with him as if he was 17 and he's talking to me about his life. And for me, I think in some light, not everything is as bad as you make it unless it's in a huge amount. And so I think in some ways we're human. You can't live a life where you're like, I will have this, no damage, I will have this, no damage, I'll have this, no damage. There is that, you have to have that balance. And I think in that sense, I think it's really beautiful and it's sweet that a daughter gets to connect with a father who lived in a very different generation, who's probably very closed off because of the traumas and the experiences he lived in. But I can really connect to him as if he's a teenager, because that one drink or two drinks allows him to be more open to talk to his child maybe about things that he wouldn't do when he's sober. And that doesn't take away from how important the conversation is, or it doesn't, how do I say, it doesn't tint that, oh, if he was sober he would never talk about this, or he's lying, or it's just the alcohol speaking.
Yeah.
I can tell it's him.
That's powerful. And I know that every dad listening to this would have felt so seen and understood, especially from the eyes of a teenager. This is a great way of understanding men and how they express emotions.
Yeah.
Right? They've been biologically wired to go fight. And I've said this over and over again, but like when the Titanic happened, they were also scared when the women and the children were sent. They also knew that they would be the ones who would be probably dying. Most of them did. So they are meant to go hunt, kill, provide, protect. And so emotions and expression of emotions or feeling vulnerable had no place in biological makeup of men. And so if it means that having a drink tones you down to like being more connected with your child or with your partner or with your friends, then who are we to judge? So there is a perceived positive. I would call it perceived positive.
Yeah.
I have to speak it in a way that it makes scientific sense.
Scientific. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you guys? What do you think?
I think you're not gonna like this answer. It's about the whole thing of not thinking. Like, I think genuinely sometimes, at least for me, it's very important sometimes. Like, sometimes I really just need to not think. And I know there's like probably mindful ways you can do that, but that probably takes a while of mindfulness before you get there. And sometimes you just need the more immediate solution. Like, I know it's not exactly healthy. Like, I'll give an example of like last week. I got rejected, terrible feeling. And in that moment, it felt like a whole ocean of emotions. And in that moment, I just couldn't handle them. So I went out drinking with my friends. And so for a moment, it just put it on pause. And then the next day, I could wake up and talk to someone about it and cry on the phone and lose my mind about it. But like in that moment, I really just needed a pause. Because if I felt those emotions at once, I really don't think I would have handled it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's honest, and I'm grateful for sharing that, for you sharing that. Yeah.
Um, I think how Mayu put it is apt. The In my perspective, the only positive that it has is perceived positive. Yes, that it has is the connections, the so-called connections that you build. But I would also um like, now that I'm thinking about it, is if you are that mentally strong, or um have that wiring, yeah, whereby you can still say no to alcohol and build that connection. You can still socialize in a group of 10 CEOs that are drinking and you have your juice. It's just, yes, how accepted are you with yourself first for you
For
to
you to,
now
yes,
Yeah.
care
you're
about
totally on
what
point. Totally on point.
others think or perceive
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah.
So I think it's still possible,
I
but
I think you nailed it, and I'll tell you why. Because this was one of the parts that I wanted to bring in. And again, guys, this is a hypothesis. Okay, what I'm going to share is a hypothesis. Uh, but we all but the data is right that we all have an emotional life inside of us. Do we all agree? Every experience gives us a sense of rejection, sadness, pain, failure, and the happy emotions. Okay, so we have an emotional life. Now, whether you accept that you have it or you don't accept, whether you sit with those emotions and meet those emotions, or whether you don't meet those emotions, but that emotional life is doing its job, just like your brain is still doing its job. All the organs are still doing a job.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? So what happens is that because as a culture we are not taught to be in full presence of the difficult emotions,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what it does is we distract ourselves by deflecting, okay, by behaviors, or by constantly being busy, and we think it goes away. But behind the scenes, the process that happens is it literally limits our capacity to feel things.
Mm-hmm.
That means whether it is heartbreak or rejection, or whether it is euphoria, we really don't feel the full extent of it. Okay. Now, I've met people, okay, and I'm at the cost of sounding arrogant, okay, but people who've known me would say this, that if I'm in a bar and I'm ordering hot chocolate and I'm up till 3 a.m., I look like I am the most drunk in a party. And I'm sure my friends listening to this would laugh and say she's right. Okay. And I'm not saying that because I'm better. I am just wired with those skills, and I've worked on myself through therapies to meet that emotional life within me, to have the extreme of rejection, failure. And I do feel that. I am in my bathroom sitting like a mess and crying almost once a week. Okay. And sometimes with my friends. So, yes, if we feel the full extent of negative emotion, it opens up the bandwidth to feel the extent of all happy emotions. In those spaces, you build the wiring to be able to be comfortable in the uncertainty and the discomfort. And it is possible because when I work with people who've actually done this work, they are able to be with the CEOs,
Mm-hmm.
they are able to be with the peers and say, not for me.
Yeah.
And yet they're having fun, mind you. Mayu, you are like seriously acknowledging this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when someone said it, I was just like, dude, this is so spot on, because I also think that, like, in some sense, I'm a representation of that. You guys have all been 18, but at a very different time period. I'm 18 and I don't really even feel the need to drink. Like, I'm doing it more for the experience that I want to experience both the sides and not be a very black and white person of this is good and this is bad and this is not okay. But fundamentally what you said is also what I really want to direct to all the parents watching, is that the fact that my environment has made me feel so present in supporting all the emotions I feel, whether crazy, because at the age of 13 something breaking may not feel a big deal for mom, but for me it did. They supported me throughout it, and I think that has what has made me into a very extroverted person and a person that's very comfortable with herself. That comes to the main point that I have in college for my first year with so much influence and feeling so like, oh, I have no idea in this space, has still not properly gotten drunk because I feel so comfortable with who I am that I have a great time with all my friends at all these parties and I still feel like I belong and I'm having such an amazing time without even drinking alcohol. And I think that only comes with having an environment like this that, like you said, makes you in tune with your body, makes you understand that you can still have a great time and you can still, with the right people, feel belonging and honestly just a sense of euphoria without even taking a sip of alcohol.
But again, this sorry, I agree with what you're saying, but what percentage of 18-year-olds fall in this category?
Exactly.
It's probably just what 20%,
Less
30%.
than.
Precisely the
Precisely.
reason,
It's
precisely the reason for this conversation, precisely the reason for the work that we do. Most importantly, parents and children listening to this, if your mind is telling you, oh, but like she's a psychologist, or oh, but she's her daughter, please clear the slate. It's about learning the skills. It's practice. Just like if your son or if you are going for Pilates and gym, or if you're sending your children to learn driving, we have the same understanding of learning the skill of understanding our emotions, understanding what my emotions are. Why do I do certain things?
Yeah.
It's a practice, it's a strategy, it's a tool that everyone can learn. And I really hope that schools incorporate this as a subject.
Yeah.
It's one of the most important skills for you to then hone your thinking mind. We
Yeah.
are speaking a lot about perceived positives and about all of your experiences. I want to now really lean in to what really is the negative part. What are the negative parts of drinking? What is it? What Because there is a controversy, right? There is a sense of knowing that this is not okay, right? What is it? What do you think? What does alcohol do which is detrimental? Let's put it that way.
So the point that I wanted to argue was about the 18-year-olds and their drinking culture. And as much as we're like agreeing that like it's very few percentage of 18-year-olds who don't drink and don't go out, I just wanted to give like a defense, especially in terms of like Kenyan teens, in terms of like the spaces that are there for like people this age to hang out are predominantly clubs, and clubs are not spaces that are built for you to be sober in, because the music is loud, the people are loud, the people are sweaty, it's noisy, it's the lights overstimulating, like the whole environment is just built for you to not be entirely present. So it sort of forces, in a way, these 18-year-olds to drink if they want to keep hanging out with their friends in these like outside spaces outside of their homes.
Yeah, that's a great point. What do you say, Mayu?
I mean, I totally agree. Like that was also one of the points that I feel I need to focus on is I'm just grateful that even in my first year in college, I was with a team and girls who were older than me but never pressured me to drink. I think that is really important, that I was in a space where I never felt like I had to drink to belong. Of course, subtly we all feel it, but in a bigger scheme, they never said, "Oh, you have to drink to enter the party or you have to drink to be a part of this." And I think that's the difference. And of course, I feel like mom raising me in a way where I'm very who I am. And if people don't vibe with that, I shouldn't be spending time with them. And so I think in that space, if there were, which there are, of course, people in college who are like, no, no, you have to, then I don't have fun anymore. And I kind of just get myself out of that space. But again, I think that's like we were talking about, your environment needs to raise you in a way where you feel very confident in your choices.
I also really largely understand your point where you say that the clubs, the environment, and for everyone listening to this, understand this is a capitalist society.
Mm.
Okay, you go to a restaurant, it's not just clubs. You go to a restaurant and you order something. Before the food has come, these really like high class restaurants will first offer you bread. Okay, what happens when you have bread? It's starch, it's sugar. Okay, so it gives you a spike in a way that you crave alcohol. So people are literally managing our minds and our choices. Same way, like you said, the clubs. Okay, it's so small. The music is loud. They make you. They push you. You're looking everywhere, and we are working on mirror neurons. I will do what you do. You're sad. I'll sad. You're drinking. Okay, I'm drinking. Okay, so we are literally being manipulated to say yes when deep down we really, if somebody asks us, we may say no. Okay, most importantly, I've seen that drinking alcohol in a group of people also builds your frustration tolerance. Because one day I asked my husband, he was out with his friends and blah blah blah, having a good time. He comes back and I'm like, how was it? And he was like, good, we had so much fun. I said, are you happy? And he was like, huh? And I'm like, are you feeling happy about it? And I'm like, huh? And so I understood, okay, tapped out. And then the next day I asked him, I said, just a question, and this is a question to all men, okay? Tell me something, when you, including you, Stavan, or women probably, but when we go out to party, when men meet, okay, they start at about 6:30, 7:30, and then sometimes this can go on till 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m., okay? Ask me, if you were not drinking, would you really spend 8, 9 hours with those friends as much as you love them?
No.
That
No.
was so quick.
Thank you. So, thank you for saying that, because what it does is alcohol literally numbs your thinking mind, and in fact, to an extent, even your feeling mind. So, you just go with the flow. Continue.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with what you're saying. Is what it does is you go with the flow. It's like it takes you where it is, and the day after is, and I'm saying this from personal experience, is you could be out partying and clubbing till like 4 or 5, but personally, and I say this on behalf of quite a few of my friends as well, is that the day after is only regret. Is why am I so low? Is why don't I have energy? Why is it that I'm feeling acidic? Why is it I shouldn't have done this? I'm stopping alcohol, and then 3 weeks later again you'll be in that same position. But for that day, it's like, why? What was the need?
Thank you. Thank you for saying it out right, because this is where we lean into understanding that yes, there are perceived positives about having alcohol, and I'm sure that's why it is. Take a guess. How many US dollar industry is alcohol? 2026. Take a guess.
3 trillion.
Bang on right now. I know why you're clubbing so much.
Huh? Wait!
It has money.
Actually!
2.7 something billion, which is almost 3 trillion industry. New Zealand, not New Zealand, sorry, I just
US
said
dollar.
US dollars.
US dollar. 3 trillion, guys. How are they making all this money? Because somewhere we are sold to the perceived positives,
Consumption.
correct? So now let's look at physiologically, what does it do to our body? I really want to now lean into, are there really some negative impacts that people are talking about? Is this something to do with diseases? Is this something to do with our health? Is there a reason why 40-year-olds are having heart attacks and cancers? And is alcohol having any connection to this? What's your take, doctor?
Yes. Okay. um. Yes. That's, in one word. It's yes. Breaking that down is, like I said, it's not one system that the alcohol is affecting. It's affecting various multiple systems, and it's a whole cascade. One thing is related or linked to the other. The moment you drink alcohol, it's broken down, you get your liver damage. So at a cellular level, your liver cells, which are your hepatocytes, are basically overworking to break down what they would do in 1 minute into 1 hour.
You're right.
So when they're overworking, they're getting overstimulated. They have they're broken down easier. When you have your liver damage, that affects now your other systems, where basically you get portal hypertension, you get high blood pressure, you get various other things. It increases your risk of clot formation in your body, whereby you have plaques depositing at various blood vessels. When that happens, you're at increased risk of heart attacks. You're at an increased risk of strokes. That's why there is a particular kind of stroke which is common in alcoholics. So when you see that a patient is presenting a certain way, the first question you ask is, was this person intoxicated? Has this person drinking alcohol? Whenever you ask any patient that comes to you, the first questions that you ask is, do you drink and do you smoke? Because these two factors automatically increase your risk of certain conditions by fivefolds, by sevenfolds, by tenfolds. So the moment you say yes and yes to both these questions, you're already thinking, okay,
It's a warrant. Yeah, it's a warrant for disease. Yeah,
100%.
it's a warrant for disease.
It is.
What do you think? What do you guys think? Does it impact your body? Thank you, Dr. Savan. This is what was really important.
The honest answer, yes. And if I'm being entirely honest, it's also not good for your mental health.
Correct.
As someone with mental illness and who's on medication, I have no business drinking. I really have no business drinking, but I do drink.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you because this is what makes us human. Let me tell you, as humans, we are the only species which know everything and do the opposite. This makes us very human, right? Including myself, Joy. All right. So, a lot of areas, I feel the same way. I know, but
But maybe, yeah.
what about you, Mai? What do you think about its
Um,
impacts on health?
I think, I mean, both of these are totally right. And I feel like they have more experience. But as a person who's seen it from like not drinking and not really going through the like worst effects of it the next morning, it's a bit funny to see because like we'll go out, you know, and even before, like 2 days before, like someone said, it's like a cycle. So 2, 3 days before, or even a week before, people are like, oh, they're so excited. They're like, we're going to get this, we're going to party then. You know, the hormones, everything is so high. The day of, most likely it's a good party. It's so fun. Then the next morning, everyone's mood is just. And I'm like, guys, what happened? Like, you know, want to go out for a walk? Everyone's just not online. They wake up at like 1 p.m. They're like, my head hurts. My mood is bad. I don't even want to eat. You're speaking too loud. Everything's irritating. And I'm like, damn, you know, like you get to see like the full. And I'm still like, okay, yes, it was late. So I'm also a bit tired. But I'm still like, I'm still moving. You know, let's go do stuff. And you can see that effect, like, you can see it on their faces, on everything. And I know you also said it takes what, 72 hours for it to get out of your system. And I feel like maybe you can't see it maybe on the third day, you know, on their face. But yeah, you're right. Anxiety levels spike, their behavior is off, they're more irritable. And then you kind of feel like, oh, you know, you also feel a bit of like defeat because you feel like, you only had a good experience with them then, but you can't have a good experience with them all the time.
Wow,
You know?
that's a very important point, Mayu. I think this is my time to now ramble.
Go ahead.
Spotlights on.
I know all of this, you know, and it's heartbreaking sometimes to literally see it as brain scans, see it in behaviors of my clients, of their young children. But yes, number one, it takes 30 seconds. 30 seconds from the point of your first sip that it impacts your brain. So, number one, it impacts your brain health, the most important organ of our bodies. It impacts your brain health, especially in children. And I do know that anyone who's drinking alcohol started when they were as young as 15, 16, 18. You guys are children. Okay, so what that does, if your brain is not matured and it's going through its own patterns, it compromises with the hippocampus, the part of the brain which helps you in habit formation and memory. And so, if you have a teenager who's struggling with his studies and he has a party culture and you kind of condone it and you say, who else? If not now, when? You know why that is happening. You know why that they are not able to focus better. It directly impacts the way you learn, the way you focus, medicine students. I mean, you managed it, right? But I'm just saying that yes, it does impact your brain health. By far the biggest thing. Liver, everything else, yes, agreed. But then what about blackouts? You mentioned that there was a time when the first time you had an alcohol, you literally had to then call your mom. Parents, this is important for you. If you have a child below the age of 18 or 18, you need to know that the first sip of alcohol impacts their brain differently than of adults. The amount of alcohol that they drink, even in one drink, they can experience a blackout. Blackout is a condition where you have memory gaps. You will be surprised your child may not even remember what happened the next day. And it could be even date rape. I know this is hard. It could be even molestation. And unfortunately, most of these stories never come out. How many of us actually send our children for therapies? We don't. So your child stays with that shame. They may not even remember it, except they'll feel something weird about their body. Blackouts are happening to almost every child who started drinking. So this is a very important conversation, guys, to know that blackout, alcohol poisoning, these are real things. So when we say drinking as in one drink is different versus 3 drink, do you know what's the quantity when you say binge drinking? Take a guess, what's the quantity when you say I binge drink? Because that's what most of us do when we go to the clubs and all, right?
12 glasses.
12 glasses.
Probably 100, 200 ml of like hard liquor.
I would say numbers. I would say any drink, if you're having more than 4 in men, it's binge drinking. More than 3 in women, it's binge drinking. And this is men and women. Trust me, I tried to literally look for research on children. We are still using the same research that works for men. Tell me, 15-year-olds who go to party and alchemist and clubs, are they really just sticking to one shot? No, they're not. It's a very deep conversation to ask ourselves that are we protecting our children? Isn't it our job to probably pause and have this conversation about alcohol responsibility with them? What are we doing with their brain? Okay, I have a beautiful representation of what a brain really is. I want to ask you, okay, which brain would you rather have?
I'm assuming that one.
This one? Which brain would you rather have?
The one Mayu picked.
Hey.
The other one.
This one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Stavan.
Hey, he's a doctor.
Why would you have this brain?
So basically, it's in terms of activity. The activity levels of that brain are higher than
So when you're memorizing and you're studying, the parts of the brain that light up, this is of a 15-year-old who doesn't drink. Look at all the hippocampus parts lighting up and look at for somebody who's drinking.
That is so small.
Correct? And imagine this continues. One of the most important conversations we don't, I'm sure most of the parents are going to go wow about this, including myself when I came to know, is we have been brought up thinking, or the culture has made us think, that when we talk to our children or make it look like cool, that it's cool to drink, let's have the drink together. When we do that, those children are more likely to get into binge drinking habit as a young adult. And people who get into binge drinking habits are more likely to get into addiction as a full-fledged adult. Today, the data is supporting that the later in life you try and experiment with alcohol, lesser the chances of brain health deterioration, lesser the chances of you actually turning into a binge drinker. I've actually met people who've drank at like 18 for the first time. By the time they are 22, they are able to say, no, maybe someday yes, someday no. But children who start at 12, 13 or 15 or 16 are more likely to have more binge drinking, drinking and completely blacking out, or alcohol poisoning. And it does lean into like health problems as they grow into adults. So it's a very important conversation, parents, that you need to wake up to this. You need to really wipe that inherited culture that I'll have that first drink with my child. And we need to be more educated and aware about that. What do you guys have to say when I shared this?
I would like to say the one thing I think is very important is knowledge, because knowledge brings awareness. And I feel like the world we're living in today, it is so accessible to even the youngest of teens, like 12-year-olds. And I feel like sometimes parents get a bit worried or get a bit nervous or a bit awkward when tough conversations come up. And so they'd rather maybe not talk to the kid about it, or talk to the kid about it in a sly way. And I think that is where the issue is, because that's where kids are going to find their own way out. They're going to find their own knowledge, and that might not be the safe way of finding it.
Correct, because they are explorers.
Because they're explorers, and because we have access to things like internet now and social media and bad influences and bad people. I mean, I remember one of my first experiences that was pretty scary is like at the age of 15, I'm living in a completely different world. Okay, it's dormitories, bunches of international students. And I remember like there was this whole case where another like 15-year-old or like young kid, I just remember him being pretty young, was hanging out with a bit of the older kids. Mind you, we're all in dorms, it's high school, so we're all under the age of 18. They were all drinking, of course, illegally, and that kid got food poisoning and he had to get his stomach pumped. And I think it hit everyone that, dude, he felt so pressured to drink or whatever happened. But the fact was, he probably didn't even have the knowledge. He was just doing it in that moment because he wanted to feel cool or whatever. I feel like knowledge is so important because that's where you really become aware. And that's where it gives you like a full plate of options where, like, now you know everything, now make your decision. When people don't have that knowledge awareness, they make decisions because they don't know, they don't have any previous.
Tell me, I'm directing this to both of you, okay? Say at 14, and over again every 6 months, taking a walk in the park, this conversation was shared by a trusted adult. Maybe not your parents, but a trusted adult, an aunt, an uncle, an older sibling. Say everybody had the same mantra spoken to you, right from your parents to grandparents to older cousins to sibling to people who you got inspired by every 6 months, and it was done so rhythmically without, like, let's have a talk. Do you think you would have chosen something else as a teenager? Or at least been more aware about it?
I think so, personally. At least I can say from like seeing like Sion and Mayu, like how that has changed. I definitely think it would help. I don't think I would drink at all, really. Maybe from time to time.
Correct.
But I really don't think I'd drink the way I do now.
Correct. What is your take?
I think for any topic, conversation is key.
Correct.
Good, bad, talk.
Talk, yeah.
I think if an adult, my aunt, whoever for that matter, just spoke me, told me there is this side to the world and there is this side to the world. You choose which side you want to, but I'm showing you both sides. I think that would have been more of an informed decision rather than me figuring out that 18-year-old Stavan, like, okay, now I've had 3 shots, now let's see what's going to happen. That would, I wouldn't be seeing what it would, I would already know that if I do this, these are the repercussions. If I do this, and then make those decisions, which I think now, I would really like to believe, I may be wrong, you deal with teens day in, day out. Please correct me if I'm wrong, is the trend has started changing, whereby I still feel like adults are more willing to sit down with their kids and talk to them about difficult conversations, which was not the case when probably I was 12 or 13. I think that is slowly changing, and that's because of the curiosity of the teenager. That's because you question more. That's because you ask. That's because you don't accept what is thrown at you. It's behind everything there is a why. So that why should be answered
Yeah.
for you to make those decisions.
Yeah, I would, as we come towards wrapping up this conversation, I'm just going to share a couple of conversations for parents, and I want all of you teenagers or young people to really give your word if there is a young Stavan or a 15-year-old Joy or a 14-year-old Mayu listening on the other side. But this is my take on it. Yes, some parents are waking up to this, but they're not doing it without going for therapy or a life coach or a self-learning that's happening or a incident that happens. So this is especially for parents that alcohol responsibility conversation is the most important thing. Children are not going to do what you ask them to do. Children are going to do when they see you doing that. So if a dad comes from home and he's really tired and he takes a drink, the child is going to understand stress-free life is having a drink. So be very mindful of your relationship with alcohol. Be mindful of the open bar culture we have as parties. Be mindful, especially this is the most important part, parents. Even if you've had one sip of drink, do not drive. The highest amount of deaths in teenagers, number one reason is drunk driving in any part of the world. Number one reason is drink and driving. And they are doing this because somewhere they've seen a mom who's drinking and driving. Somewhere they've seen a dad who says, oh no, I'm okay, it's just 2 drinks, I can drive. No, we are not doing that. We are not causing more harm to our children. So number one, we are going to have very strict rules about our relationship with alcohol if we really want to protect the next generation. Number two, we are going to really bring them in and gently have a conversation, be vulnerable, be honest and say, I've done these things, but I didn't know any better. Talk to them about data. Talk to them, because this generation literally anchors onto data. Show them what a healthy brain is. Show them there are scans available. All of this is in the references of this podcast. Read up those articles. Get more curious. Be educated. Okay, sit down and have that conversation. Have that rule right from the time they turn 10 or 11, that what does partying look like. Have that conversation on the rule book. This is what is okay, this is what is not okay. When they go for parties, check which friends are invited. Check and talk to the parents of those friends. I know you would be the most horrible mom in that moment, but we are still protecting them. One of the things, mothers and fathers, we do not need to be the cool and the chill mom. Okay, we need to be fiercely protective. We need to be educated, we need to be aware, because our job at all times is to protect our children. It's not to keep them happy. And in teenage years, whatever you do, they are going to push back. You might as well do it for the right reasons. It's important that you have the alcohol accountability conversations. Reach out to therapists, they can do it for you. Set in a session. Therapy is for everyone, but you need to know, if we are not doing this right, we are losing our children to drunk driving incidences. We are losing those children somewhere in young adults when they are 30 or 40, dying of health problems and diseases. And lastly, but the most important thing, parents, we've not spoken about cancer, but even social drinking. I'm not talking about addiction here, Dr. Stavan. I'm talking about social drinking, okay? Social drinking is linked to 7 different types of cancer. So, really, mothers and fathers, if you have a person in the family who's addicted, or you have a person in the family who's dealing with cancer, really look at their relationship with alcohol. Okay, be your own judge, be your own scientist. Start looking at your patterns. Okay, do not be influenced. Be educated. Create awareness. All right. So, one word from the three of you, if the young version of you is listening, about alcohol responsibility.
Okay, I'd say that there are other ways to feel alive.
Yeah, yeah. There are other ways to feel alive. Thank you. Thank you.
Um, I don't think I'll be able to sum it up in a word,
No, don't say it in a word, say it in a sentence.
but just that the tagline of drink responsibly. Just know what you're doing. That responsibility aspect should be first behind anything, any decision that you make.
Yeah. So, parents, please first be responsible, drink responsibly so your children can learn that. That's most important. They are children, their brain is not developed.
I would say drinking doesn't mean you belong. You can
Drinking.
belong without drinking, you can have fun without drinking. I think it's just the people you spend time with.
Correct. I will say the last word when Joy said that there are different ways to feel alive, and I want to remind you, yes, meeting your friends and going for a bicycling, whatever, is fun. Playing football makes you feel alive. Playing a game, socially connecting, makes you feel alive. Most importantly, 15 minutes of breath work every day makes you feel alive. I know you laugh, but try it. Do it for 30 days. See the difference. 30 days, abstain from alcohol. See what changes in your body. Be your own scientist. Once again, guys, thank you so much. If this conversation hit you in your heart and if you feel that something has shifted, please comment, like, share. More parents need to know about this. And young adults, thank you so very much. I'm humbled.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for having us.